to re-engage in school. We will not only review our outcomes, but also talk about how COVID transformed our work. Donna, you're on mute.
Thank you. Not usually a problem I have. People can't hear me. I wanted to start off with a brief introduction of the New York Early Childhood Professional Development Institute. We are an institute that sits within CUNY's Office of Academic Affairs, and we are really a public-private partnership. So really, we bring to the table city and state agencies who are involved in early childhood, funders, and all of our colleagues within the CUNY system to really create and solve the problems that the early childhood workforce faces, and to create the systems that they need to be able to provide high quality service to New York's youngest learners. We do this with a variety of different approaches and programs. So some of the other work that we do, in addition to the career development centers, which Antonia is going to talk a little bit more about, we also operate Quality Stars New York, which is New York State's quality rating and improvement system for early childhood programs. We operate New York Works for Children and the Aspire Registry. New York Works for Children is our integrated workforce system for early childhood, and the Aspire Registry is the workforce data system in New York. We offer coaching and have been very involved in the creation and implementation of the recognition of coaching as professional development for early childhood professionals. We operate the New York Leadership Initiative, which is a program that was designed to meet the professional development and career development needs of early childhood leaders and people who want to move into leadership positions. We host the New York City Early Childhood Research Network, which is a network of city agencies and institutions of higher education to do research around early childhood and the early childhood workforce, and also funds. We work to fund research projects through that work. And we also operate our Informal Family Child Care Project, which offers professional development and resources to people who are to license exempt providers. So these are people who care for children in their homes that aren't required to have a license. So basically, all of these resources really create a very rich environment for the early childhood field and for people who interact with many of our programs. There's a lot of synergies that happen between those programs, including the career development centers that really offer a lot of opportunity and growth and system building for New York's early childhood workforce. Antonia, you're on mute. We're going to be reminding each other.
Thank you. I'm so sorry. The Early Childhood Career Development Center serves to support all those entering into the workforce and looking for career and college mobility. Our framework includes traditional career advisement, making connections for students to higher education, and supporting all individuals who wish to obtain credentials, degrees, and certifications, the information and guidance, and also the information and guidance to do so. Lastly, as Donna mentioned, we have the Leadership Initiative for our leaders and emerging leaders. Our Career Center has now been replicated in 4 other regions of the state with plans for additional growth. We have plans to have more career advisor staff in each region of New York State.
A little bit of background around the project that we are talking about today is the partnership between our institute and CUNY School of Professional Studies. Mm-hmm. So this was a partnership that began early on, and started with a program that we created in partnership with SPS to offer a Child Development Associate credential or certificate program. So CDA is an entry-level program that people can get when they're interested, out of high school and interested in entering the early childhood field. And it really can become a pathway, can be the beginning of a pathway to a career in early childhood education. So we created this with SPS, a Child Development Associate credential that actually awarded college credit. There are other CDA programs out there, but that don't offer college credit. So we were really interested in creating a very a smooth pathway for people to start their college educations in the CDA program and then be able to continue their educations, which is required in the early childhood field in order to advance to lead teacher positions and into leadership positions. And so this is when students now complete the CDA certificate program at SPS, they have everything that they need to apply for the CDA credential from the Council for Professional Recognition. It's a nationally recognized credential, and they have 12 college credits that they can then take with them as they advance in early childhood education. So we began this model in 2012 and offered it in a variety of different ways. It was open to the public, to anyone who was interested and who qualified, obviously was eligible. And then in 2016, we started focusing on offering the program as a cohort model. So now we do both. And this cohort model was really an idea that we would offer the CDA coursework to a group of students who would move through the 4 courses together. So it's 4 3-credit courses. And that really had a lot of interesting opportunities that we didn't even sort of realize at the time. So, and this project kind of grew out of that. So, of course, as we developed this college credit bearing CDA, we knew if it was going to be a great pathway, that we also were going to need to have some articulation agreements so that people could easily go on to associate's degrees and bachelor degree programs within CUNY. So we currently have 4 articulation agreements with LaGuardia, Hostos, Kingsborough, and BMCC, the Borough of Manhattan Community College. And that's actually, BMCC is actually where a majority of our students end up going, which sort of makes sense. The SPS campus is in Manhattan on 31st Street. So if that's a good location for people, BMCC is also going to be a good location. They're not that far from each other. So that's where we have seen a lot of our transfer students go to. And you'll see that we also have developed more of a relationship with our BMCC colleagues to help facilitate that. And Antonia is going to talk about that a little bit later. So I wanted to just also share a little bit about what we've learned so far. So we've completed the first year of the project, and we've learned a lot of lessons, some of which we either suspected or kind of knew, but really with this project being able to really dig in and understand the student experience, we've identified some key priorities that our transitioning students have had as they move from the CUNY SPS CDA program into associate's and bachelor's degree programs. So ease of transfer, I think this doesn't come as a surprise to anybody. Ease of transfer is incredibly important to our students. It is highly correlated with the motivation that they feel. So the harder the process is, the more likely they are to find, to not be able to make that transfer smoothly. Other priorities that people identified is that they wanted to feel connected to the program from the beginning. They want to know their faculty. They want to feel connected to their peers and to their program. And they have identified that as something that really keeps them motivated to continue. Our students are mostly non-traditional students. They are students who are working part-time or full-time already. They are raising families. They have a lot of family obligations and other sorts of obligations. So evening and weekend options for coursework are also something that really make a difference in where people choose to transfer to. And the other thing sort of related is this idea of online and hybrid options. So, COVID has provided an interesting opportunity. We had to all very quickly pivot to online learning back in March. And so this has really opened up our opportunities to explore what that online coursework and hybrid options of coursework can look like for the future. So we're excited about what that might look like and the implications it might have for our students. And then for those who are, were in-person classes and will be in the future, childcare options are also a real priority. So that's always, our students are looking for safe, nurturing places that their children can be while they're in class, while they are meeting with professors, while they're working on their coursework. So fortunately, the Institute lies in the Office of Early Childhood Initiatives at CUNY Central at the Office of Academic Affairs. So we have been able to make connections with the 16 campus childcare centers that CUNY currently has on 16 of its campuses to connect our students to the childcare options that are available on their particular campuses. BMCC has a particularly well-known and high-quality early childhood center, so it's really been exciting to be able to connect with them for our students for this project as well. And then just a little bit more about the project in particular. Our goals when we started were that in year one, we wanted to serve 40 students who were alumni of the SPS CDA program and help them make the transfer into associate's and bachelor's degree programs, and then to add an additional 20 students to serve 60 in year two. We are currently at 70 participating students, so we're thrilled that there has been enough interest and that there have been more even than we anticipated, which we're thrilled about. And also as part of our larger agenda to support diversity and equity in early childhood and in higher education, about 67 of those 70 participants identify as people of color. So this really helps us to understand where, that we're meeting the need. Research shows that children do really well and have better outcomes when their teachers and caregivers reflect and understand and comprehend their family's culture, neighborhoods, foods, practices, expectations about early childhood. So we're really glad that we're helping to foster and improve the diversity of the early childhood workforce with this CDA project. And then finally, just a little bit of data. I'll have some data, and I know Antoine is going to share some data later on. So of those 70, 33 of our students are currently enrolled as of the fall semester. 23 of them are enrolled in 2-degree programs. 5 of them are enrolled in 4-degree programs, and 5 of them are enrolled in programs of another type. So Antoine, you're going to take this?
Yes. In our first year, we have our first success with Maria, which is a CUNY SPS CDA alumni. She graduated from BMCC and then transferred to Brooklyn College. And I have to just stick a pin here because I am a Brooklyn College graduate as well. So I was so excited when she told me, I said, oh, you're going home. No, but so we are extremely proud of Maria. She is a first generation college student, like myself, funny enough, and she moved to the United States just a few years ago. I mean, when we did a highlight of Maria, she was so humbled by the opportunity. But one thing that I respect about her is that her resilience. As Donna said, a lot of our students, they are working families full-time, raising young children. And so she just had this resilience and this tenacity to complete, not only to start, but then to also complete. And one of the things that I always mention to this cohort is that if you look at the name, it pretty much tells on itself. So our goal is not only for them to start, but for them to complete and to have, resources in place that can alleviate any barrier, well, let me not say any, but mostly all barriers that would stop them from completing their degree. And as Donna mentioned before, motivation was the biggest, barrier. But I'm pretty sure I'll have an opportunity to share more about that in the slides to come. So our 70 students had opportunities to engage in one-on-one advisement sessions with yours truly. This work included face-to-face meetings, Zoom meetings, phone conferences, emails, and text communications. Participants, they attended lecture series. They partnered with events with BMCC, with the admissions team, and we invited them to meet with staff for scholarship resources. From our first networking event, we learned that many individuals who enrolled into the program thought the programs would finance their degree, not just provide, resources and support. We had to do a lot of work. We had to do a lot of education around the benefits of, of this particular program. After our meeting, two consistent barriers and challenges that we needed to mitigate immediately was the need to support the participants in writing skills and support them in college application fees. So the services that we provided, we had to add, writing tutor to assist with college application essays. And if I may add, when we conducted a lecture series, that was the largest amount of participants that attended that particular lecture series. So we were, thrilled. And even, we made so many connections even after the event. So Kayleen, who was the writing tutor, she remained busy, especially because with the transition, as Donna said, just to keep the transition smooth, some of our students had to write their essays for their master's programs or their graduate programs. So she provided a lot of support, to help them as far as making sure that they present quality essays. Like as we mentioned, the college application fees, and then the BMCC collaboration admissions event. An additional barrier we identified with higher education bureaucracy, bursa holds, and academic holds being the top 3 barriers for admissions and enrollment. Our participants were successful in enrolling and attending their classes and maintained enrollment even during the transition to remote instruction. But many identified the rigor of academics was stressful. We are still identifying ways on how to support the students with tutors and mentors on their campuses, especially when campuses are closed. Math classes and English comp classes have been identified as the hardest classes for them. So just giving you an example with BMCC, what we did was we created a partnership. We already have articulation agreement, but we wanted to go far and beyond that because we understand that our cohort is very unique. And so what we decided to do is that we decided to have just a specific an info session with BMCC just with our cohort. And so our connection there, so that he can answer rather specific questions, that they had. Just as mentioned here, when the campuses are closed, it's been a challenge for the students to get in contact with admission officers and different things like that. So we figured because most of our students are going to BMCC, what we can do is we can be more proactive as we assist them with transitioning into the program. Now, Sabrina, sorry, Donna. So I just wanted to share Sabrina's story. And Sabrina is Sabrina. If you meet her, you're just like, she's just a beautiful person. But Sabrina participated in the CDA program in a funded cohort and graduated in May 2019. In the last few weeks of the semester, she learned she was pregnant with her 4th child. And I'm just gonna stop because I kind of can say this just, off the top of my head, but I remember our networking meeting and her belly was, just, when she walked in the door, everyone's eyes are like, what is going, and she came with her belly and she came with her 2 daughters because, as we mentioned, childcare, but we wanted to make sure that our doors remained open. We had a staff member who was able to I don't want to say distract for the lack of a better word, but to keep her children engaged so that she can, participate in our networking event. And so after some time off and self-care, she applied to BMCC. BMCC had a number of services she needed: childcare, online classes, a responsible director and friends in the program. And then also, and this is something that Sabrina always mentions all the time, as far as having friends, to navigate and to meander through the program. And so having peers who are also part of the college completion program was very important to her. So she continued, she always comes to our meeting. And I'm sorry, I lost my space. Oops, sorry about that. Yes. So she always comes to our meeting asking for us to get together with everyone. We recently had an event on Monday, and literally Claudine and I were just waiting. And at the end, without further ado, Sabrina's like, well, I have a suggestion. And we're like, okay, we're trying to figure out how can we better serve, this cohort. And she's like, we need to get together. It's like, Sabrina, for all of this, she never fails. So, but she loves to get together, and she loves to network, and she loves to just be with her friends and her peers. So we learned that Sabrina was admitted to BMCC last spring. We were very excited, but then Sabrina, she went quiet. We did a reach out, and we found out she was struggling with her admissions sessions to BMCC. We learned that her advisor told her that the science class that she signed up for was not a major requirement and would not be covered by her FAFSA or financial aid. Sabrina, she literally went into a panic. I mean, I give the cohort my personal phone number, so they can text me, call me. I can't say all the time, but mostly all the times, and they take advantage of it. And it's not a complaint by no means, because again, one of the things that what drew me, if I can say, to this program is that I remember when I was in college, and I always said that if I ever, I would want to be to students what I needed when I was going through the process. And so this is why, as you can see, I'm very personable. I take this like I'm very excited, because it was a struggle for me to transition through school, and not for my own doing, but with colleges, you have one advisor for over 300 students, it's very impersonable, and it's a struggle. So just as the college completion program, we created our own cohort. And when one student took a class, well, how was the class? How was the professor? And when one student had to do their workshop or their state certification exam, we would really encourage and motivate each other. And so I relate very much with the cohort, and this is what drew me, because as I said before, I'm just this natural. I want to help. If I can help you to alleviate problems and barriers, and even if I can take on something to myself so that you don't have to go through it, literally, I mean, in my professional life, but even in my personal life, this is really who I am. So getting back to Sabrina's story, so the advisor also told her that she needed to take a particular course that Sabrina was confident was in the articulation agreement. So the first thing we did was contact the program director and let her know we were having issues with advisement. It turned out that Sabrina should have never been sent to general advising. She needed to be with a program advisor, meaning within the early childhood. They have an early childhood program at BMCC, and they have a specific advisor, for the program. So the course she was enrolled in that the advisor told her to drop was exactly the course that she needed. Sadly, Sabrina's story is not the first. We learned after the fact that some of our students took and paid for classes that should have been considered complete through our articulation agreement with the school. But general advisors were unaware of our articulation agreement and did not know how to apply it to their major. So our call with the director allowed us to create some checks and balances so other students do not have the same issue as Sabrina did. You're muted.
To continue with what Antoinette was just talking about, so this project has been really interesting to also help us identify more systemic barriers that some of our students are facing, and it really gives us the opportunity to share those with our CUNY colleagues and really think about, like, are there ways that we could, improve our own system? Another of our students, Maria, had a similar sort of issue with is just in some ways a bureaucratic hurdle in that when she enrolled for the CUNY SPS program, she's an immigrant from the Caribbean. She had to get her transcript evaluated as part of the application process. This is standard for all students who are coming from countries outside the United States. So she was able to do that. She found, they provided a list of vendors who are able to perform that service. She was able to do it. She got into the CUNY SPS program. She successfully completed it. She transferred to the BMCC successfully and was able to complete coursework, and is now in the process of transferring, and was accepted into Brooklyn College for their bachelor's degree program. So what should have been a win has now become a challenge, because Brooklyn College has said, this transcript evaluation company that you used, we don't use them. We don't recognize their work. And so you have to get your transcript reevaluated. So it's things like this that are, become barriers for people. It's another $300. It's the delay. She's ending up skipping a semester. And, we all know that sort of motivation and trajectory that students are on, it's so important to continue. And then when you have to take a semester off, it can really have poor repercussions on their, on what they're able to do later. So this is really an opportunity for us to take this particular example back and say, hey, CUNY, we're a large system. Is there something that we can do about this so that there's a little bit more uniformity between the colleges? We're in New York City. There are a lot of our students who are coming in who need transcript evaluation. So this is a real opportunity that we're going to, have the opportunity to work on now, which is sort of an added benefit of this project. It's not just about serving our 70 students, but it's also thinking about how do we help CUNY improve overall.
Now let's talk about my other dearest, Ben. Ben participated in the public CDA program and graduated spring 2019. Now, English is not Ben's primary language. However, this did not impede her learning at SPS. She actually did quite well with her written assignments. She can, however, get confused when speaking with people. I mean, she knew that she wanted to attend BMCC. I remember Ben reached out to me well before graduation because she knew this was what she wanted to do. She was very adamant about further pursuing her education. And so she had many challenges with admissions, because they indicated that she needed to submit her high school diploma and transcript. She had such issues with communicating and understanding what admissions needed. After 10 months, she gave up and decided to apply to a seminary school. She indicated if we can help rectify the mess at BMCC, she would consider going back. Ben did not share these concerns during check-in, and why our team was surprised that she struggled for so long. This has occurred again with another student, and when we asked them why did they wait so long to reach out to us for help, they said, I really wanted to do this on my own and make you proud. I know which student this is, but we now have made numerous efforts to indicate this is our job to help them to be successful and to remove stress during this process. And this, was really, if I could say, is one of the main, we hear this, it's like a repeated language, if I can say, that the students express. They do sometimes, I mean, as you said, this is not traditional learners. They're adults, they're professionals, they're, they're parents. Some of them are entrepreneurs, so they do want to show some type of initiation and some type of independency. However, I try to communicate and try to encourage them that, as said, this is literally what I'm here for. At the grant program, you have like a personal cheerleader. And who wouldn't want a personal cheerleader? I mean, I know that I would. I mean, someone in my corner, Antoinette, go, So, but yes, so we encourage them that this is what I'm here for, to literally walk them through the way. So with Ben, she decided to, and she was very grateful. She was thankful. She was, but she just was like, maybe this is just not my time, but she'll come back and we can try again for future semesters at, at BMCC. So our response to challenges, again, because it's one thing is to be able to identify, right, a problem.
Anthony, just real quick, I wanted to let you know we have 5 minutes left, so we may have to go a little bit quickly through the remaining slides.
All right, thank you. So responses to challenges is we feel a great responsibility to listen to our participants and make adjustments to our plans to continue to support them. So some of the things that we did, which is great, I'm a New Yorker, I can talk very fast, is that we connect students to our new CUNY Early Childhood Workforce Scholarship, reallocated funds to provide college application fees, developing an assistant teacher prep course for the state assistant teacher examination. As I mentioned before, we did a partnership with BMCC admissions team, which is going to be hosted on a quarterly basis. And then we update a spreadsheet that we send to BMCC's early child education chair so that she can now step in and help us with the transition process. I was very proud about that. We kind of put our heads together to figure out how we can be more proactive. So we continue to meet monthly with the participants and the barriers and challenges listed to continue to develop and evolve. Our team came together to determine the best course of action for each participant on how to mitigate the barriers. Each campus is autonomous, so they have their own metrics, policies, and procedures for transfer students. From working with the admissions team, Bursar, program leaders, the internal operations of each school was a challenge for the advisement team and the students. Some challenges have created semester or year-long delays in transfers. Sorry, so, Yes, okay, sorry. So some of the things, again, as we learned, students also were having trouble with resume and resume writing. So we first added resume review and internal and interview skill building to the conversation and lecture series and connected the participants to the job board. Then we launched our employment network, which we will go into more detail in a moment, I'm hoping. Yeah, so we are also, again, as I said, we're in the development to create our assistant teacher certification preparatory course, as this would allow for them to meet the qualifications of their desired employer. And then, of course, we navigated conversations with different campus admissions teams and enrollment teams. At the onset of COVID, we knew this would be a tremendous challenge for both the participants and the advisors. So we immediately went into planning how to support the students, how to support, the students who participated in the college completion program.
So I'll just say very briefly, one of the factors that has contributed to the success of this program and was just an amazing happenstance of timing that worked out so perfectly is the launch of the CUNY Early Childhood Workforce Scholarship, which was being launched right as we were kind of doing the planning and for this project. So as I said, really great timing. It was launched last summer. We did a cohort, a small cohort last fall, and then launched it with 100 students this past spring. So this scholarship was a part of Governor Cuomo's women's justice agenda and was specifically designed for professionals who are unable to access the Excelsior Scholarship because they are not able to go to school full time. So this was a lot of our early childhood professionals. These are people who are working part-time or full-time. Adding on a full-time course load along with their family obligations just isn't feasible, but they are ready for this kind of support. They want to continue in their careers. So we were able to, so with this scholarship, it supports people who work at least part-time in a licensed center in New York City. And it helped them with supporting, with pursuing credit-bearing certificates, credentials, or 2-year, 4-year, or graduate degrees up to 6 credits, so they could take 2 courses in a semester. And just some really quick, I have a report that we can share about the results of the first year of the scholarship, but of the 100 students in our spring cohort, 99 of them finished their courses, even with the transfer, the pivot to online learning in March. and 96% of them earned a grade of A or B in their classes. So these are people who are really dedicated. They want to do this work, and 72% of the scholarship recipients were over the age of 30. So these are people who want to continue their careers. They're dedicated to early childhood, and they just need the support that a scholarship provides to pursue the higher education that they need to continue doing the work.
Yes, so as we mentioned, COVID-19, I think literally took everyone's breath away. But you know, we had our cohort is based on a relationship model. So we touch base with each person within 5 days of the CUNY and NYC shutdown, even if they were scheduled to have a meeting or not. As a team, we identified what may come up and created resources such as our pandemic unemployment guide. We also created cohort meetings with little to no agenda with the title, Ask Me Anything. This was to allow the participants to drive the conversation around their fears, their insecurities, and of course, what they needed in that moment. Some questions were about CUNY grading policies, you know, resources needed to be successful for remote instruction, and what will happen with early child education in New York City, since many programs were closed overnight without little guidance on what to do next. The calls and check-ins continued on a regular basis, of course, again, relationship building. What we learned included many were laid off with school closing permanently. Some of them were very stressed with online learning. Some of them were stressed with even their children's online. I mean, I'm just gonna keep moving. They had general concern of uncertainty, even with the early childhood field in its entirety. I mean, yeah, they were just like, well, what is the future? What is it going to look like? And of course, many of the questions we didn't have answers for, but we wanted to provide them with a way to express and to share and to build, if I could say, strength, from each other during this unprecedented time. Oh,
Just 2 more slides, Charlene. So one of the things that we did in response, because as the city began closing down programs, we knew that there were going to be a lot of staff who were going to lose their jobs or at least be furloughed at their jobs. And, we knew that we were going to have to sort of ramp up our assistance and our support in that framework. And the Institute had always had a job board on our website that was more passive. Employers could post jobs there and job seekers could find them there. And we really said, okay, we need to take a much more active role in this work. So we launched the Early Childhood Educators Employment Network. So this became our career advisors became much more actively involved in the matching process. So and really this was also came out of our concern that we had an entire CUNY graduating class in May that we're graduating into a very uncertain job market. And so we really wanted to offer some support to, especially to those CUNY graduates. So we reached out, we did a lot of outreach to the workforce, to people who were looking for jobs. And then we did a lot of outreach also to employers. Once we knew that as programs reopened, there were going to be different staffing requirements and staffing ratios with health and safety indicators, programs needed to hire more staff in order to be able to serve their children and families. So we currently in our network have 375 teachers who are looking for employment. We have 106 employers who have multiple positions open. They're actively looking to fill those positions. And so our work is trying to match those two groups together to make sure that employers find educated, qualified people for the positions they have open, and our job seekers find good jobs. And then the last is, we've talked a little bit already about the partnership. We've developed a couple of really interesting partnerships, both through and related to this agreement. So Antoinette already talked a little bit about the CUNY VMCC partnership. There's much closer interaction between those now. And so the other partnership that I wanted to just briefly mention, and I see that Jennifer Ben is in the session, so I just wanted to say hi. So this is one of these sorts of things and added benefits that happen when you bring together, as the College Completion Innovation Fund through Graduate NYC does, is brings together people who are really interested in college completion and in all its different forms. And New York is an incredibly rich sort of, in that there's a lot of people who are working on this work. And one of the things that came out of our work is, or one of the ways that Grad NYC helps to support organizations is that they do a 2-day, full day long sessions to help organizations prepare their proposals, to really think about their projects. A lot of human-centered design. I think it was in the video that they showed, that Melissa showed this morning. Really thinking about what's the challenge, what's the problem that we're addressing, what's the experience of our students who are addressing it, what are our solutions, and how that's really connected. And so at that table, that very first day, we happened to be sitting next to some folks from the KIPP College Preparatory High School, who are also doing college completion work and are really dedicated to helping their students get ready for college and then get into college and persist and complete college. And we had recently seen some research through the CDA, the Council for Professional Recognition, about offering a CDA in high school settings. So we were able, between College Now and KIPP and CUNY School for Professional Studies, to actually work outside of the Grad NYC world, but they brought us together to create a cohort of KIPP high school students who are currently in their second year of the CDA project. We've got 15 students who started as juniors. They take one college course every semester. So by the time they graduate high school, they're going to have 12 college credits. They're going to have a credential that opens them up to full-time work automatically, that will help them also then pay for college as they go along and continue their college careers. So I just wanted to share that because it's such a good example of the things that sort of unintended but also intended consequences of bringing these groups of folks together. And we've just had, it's been really thrilling to kind of watch and see how this has developed. So Charlene, thank you very much to the fund and all of its partners and supporters. I mean, we've really been able to do such exciting work that has had so many repercussions and lessons learned for our other work that we're really putting into place. As Antoine said, we're expanding our career development centers around the state, and the lessons that we're learning in this project are getting shared with all of those folks as well. So it's really an exciting opportunity.
Well, thank you. I know I see your, of course I see like your reports, and I'm just sitting here like, wow, I didn't know that happened. I didn't know this happened. Why didn't they mention all of these systems changes? Like, what is going on? And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Well, I want to say thank you all so much for this. It was great. I hope the folks here were able to kind of get some learnings out of this and may have sparked something that they may be able to do in their own institutions, and thinking about how they want to move forward in supporting students, because there are so many nuggets here, whether it's about tips on advising and implementing. And so, thank you so much.